Dear students, we were studying psycholinguistics and second language acquisition or second language learning. There are different factors that affect second language learning. These include age, personality development, whether a person is introvert or extrovert, at the same time whether he is motivated or less motivated, same times what kind of experiences does he have been facing in the life, and the mental ability or the mental capabilities also matter a lot in the learning of second language. Certainly it has been observed that the children or the people with lesser age learn second language in a better way than the persons who are old or who are definitely more aging than the others. It means the children or the young people can acquire or learn the second language easily or in a better way than the people who are grown much in the age or who are in the old age. Different people have different personalities. Some people are extrovert and some people are introvert. The people who are introvert, who like to live in the isolation, who are absorbed in themselves, who don't express their feelings, certainly it is not easy for them to acquire second language. But the people who are extrovert, who have the broader vision of life, who can see the life in a better way, have the capability to learn second language easily than the introverts. Experiences also play a very important part in the language learning, and the people who have prior knowledge or prior experience to learn a language certainly perform in a better way than the persons who are fresh. It is very difficult for the people who are fresh to acquire second language. Motivation, no doubt, is the basics for all the success in the human beings. Second language learning also needs a lot of motivation. Motivation can be internal or intrinsic, or it can be external or extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation is basically needed to acquire second language because it is the desire for you or the wish for you to learn language. But sometimes the extrinsic motivation is also needed or is also helpful in the second language learning. For example, when a person has to go to other country in British or in Australia or in Turkey or somewhere else, he will have to learn the language. If he wants to study there, if he wants to make a business there, if he wants to make communication with the people, he has to learn the language. So sometimes extrinsic motivation also serves a lot. Mental abilities of different people are different. A person who has better mental capabilities can learn the language easily than the person who has lesser abilities, because mental ability means a lot in the reception and comprehension of second language. Now we make a small comparison between the first language learning and the second language learning. Certainly there are some similarities, and at the same time there are some differences. First of all, first language and second language acquisition are predictable stages. There are predictable stages in them because this is a complete process of learning a language. Whether you are acquiring the first language or you are learning the second language, you need some stages, you need some steps to overcome, and both the languages need steps. So in this way, these are similar. The other thing is that whether you are a learner of the first language or the second language, you are going to make mistakes because it is a new language for you. And whenever you are learning something new, it is bound that you are going to make some mistakes. So the process of mistakes or making mistakes and then correcting it is also common in both the languages. Then the learner, both the learners of the first language as well as the second languages use prior knowledge, use the clues and interaction to comprehend the language. These things are necessary for the language learning, and these are also common. Age is also a very important factor in the language learning. Either you are learning the first language or you are learning the second language. In the childhood, it is easy, or in the youth, it is easy. But as much you grow old, the more you grow old, the more difficult it becomes. As we have discussed the similarities, at the same time, there are some differences in acquiring the first language as well as learning the second language. The basic difference is when you are acquiring the first language, you have been listening that language for a longer period of time. Almost 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you have been listening the language. So it becomes easier for you, for a child, to understand the language. But for a second language learner, the time is limited. The action is rapid. So he has to understand the language and perceive the language in a better way, in a quick way. Second is, while you are acquiring the first language, you certainly learn the language in a natural way. You are not given too much instructions. But in learning the second language, you have to follow the instructions. You have to follow the grammatical rules. You have to remember, or you have to learn the rules. So these things are also different in both the languages. The next thing is, in the first language, when you are acquiring the first language, or in the first language acquisition, the child doesn't have so much knowledge of the past, or neither have the experiences of the past. But a young person who is trying to learn the second language certainly has past experiences as well as prior knowledge. So this time, these experiences and these knowledge, these types of knowledge can certainly help him in acquiring the second language. Acquiring the first language is also a natural process, but learning the second language is not natural at all. It is basically unnatural. You have to do it by yourself. You have to make effort to learn a new language. So these are the similarities as well as the differences. Next is the production of language. How the language is produced. First, we said that production certainly needs conceptualization. You have an idea in your mind that you are going to say this, or you want to say this. So first stage is basically the stage of concept or conceptualization. Speech production is basically consists of 4 stages: conceptualization, formulation, articulation, and self-monitoring. Conceptualization, as I have told, is the wish to communicate in that language. It is the desire to communicate in that language. Sometimes the people in a multinational company belong to different cultures, but they have to speak a language of that typical office, of that typical company that has been made the language of communication. So they belong to different cultures, but at the same time, they have to follow that language. So it is their wish, or it is their desire, how much they want to communicate. How much they want to communicate, the more they want to communicate, the more effort they would make. Levelt. Levelt has given a model. Levelt is basically a psycholinguist who gave a model in 1989 that consisted in 4 stages: conceptualization, formulation, articulation, self-monitoring. Conceptualization is basically the wish or the desire to say something, or the desire to speak and write language. Formulation means when the person wants to formulate his thoughts into the concepts. He wants to formulate his thoughts into the real language. And the third stage comes the stage of articulation. How the sounds are produced. You people have already studied phonetics and phonology. You know that we do not use consonants and vowels as separate language, separately, but we use them while speaking. So we definitely need to have that knowledge. You already know about consonants, labials, bilabials, labiodentals, nasals, approximates, place of manner, a place of articulation, manner of articulation. Then you know about the vowels, single vowels, monophthongs, diphthongs. So all this knowledge is required for the articulation. The more knowledge you have, the more you would be able to speak in a better way. Then there is self-monitoring. Self-monitoring means when you monitor yourself, whether you are speaking or writing in the right way, in the exact way, or you are making mistakes. Definitely, sometimes you can say that I have made a good speech, I have been speaking really well, but there would be times when you wouldn't be speaking well, and you would have been thinking in your mind that you have made a mistake. This is called self-monitoring. Next model is David McNell's model, an American psycholinguist who has given this model. This model also is about psycholinguistics and the process of brain to the process of articulation. He is also of the view that human brain certainly first blends syntactic or grammatical elements in his mind, and then he combines these syntactic models with the images. For example, if somebody asks, where is the table? I would tell him, here. or they, according to him, the mind also has the image that table is here or there. It means the table is there or far. He gave this concept, and his concept is also very useful for the psycholinguistics. Syntactic thoughts and images, imagistic thoughts. After production comes the formulation. As we have already discussed, that formulation is basically the process of giving forms to our thoughts. Giving forms to our thoughts. Whatever we have been thinking, whatever we have been visualizing, whatever we have been imagining, we want to give these thoughts the practical shape, and the practical shape of words, either spoken or written. Words are also a way of communication in the form of verbal communication, and gestures and postures are also the way of communication in the form of non-verbal communication. So formulation, the process of formulation includes verbal as well as non-verbal clues. Then there is articulation. I have already discussed in detail about articulation, that there are two types of sounds, consonant sounds and vowel sounds. Consonants are divided into two categories as the place of articulation and the manner of articulation, where our vowels have also been divided into two kinds according to as pure vowels or single vowels or monophthongs, and impure vowels or double vowels or diphthongs. So this knowledge is also required to make the speech better and effective. As the native speakers are speaking, so every person would like to speak language in the same way. And if a person wants to speak language in the same way, he needs to follow the language spoken by the native persons, and he definitely needs to know about the consonants and the vowels and their places of articulation and how they are produced and articulated. Self-monitoring certainly can be easy, or at the same time it can be difficult. If you already know the rules, it would be easy for you to correct yourself. But if you don't know the rules, you can make a lot of mistakes. So for self-monitoring, you have to be good not only in the production of language, in the articulation of language, but at the same time, you must know the grammatical structures as well. The next stage is the stage of comprehension. Comprehension of language. Comprehension, as you already know, is basically another word for understanding. It means you have already passed the stages of production, formulation, articulation, and now there is the level of comprehension. How a language is perceived, an ability to understand the language. Comprehension is divided into categories as sound comprehension, word comprehension, sentence comprehension, and text comprehension. Sound comprehension means the understanding of different speech sounds, again in the form of consonants as well as vowels. Whether the consonants are labial, bilabial, labiodental, nasal, approximates, whether they are plosives, stops, glottis, whether the vowels are single vowels or diphthongs, whether short vowels or long vowels, all these things are basically understood in the sound comprehension. And when a person knows sound comprehension, he can differentiate the different sounds spoken by the native speakers. For example, the paired syllables or the paired consonants t, d, p, b, k, g, th, th, d, th, hat, bat. If a person doesn't know the real sounds, it would be difficult for him to understand the difference between the both sounds. So the sound comprehension is also necessary for the understanding of language. Word comprehension, the next level to sound is the word comprehension. If a person knows about the sounds, he would be able to combine these sounds in the form of the words. In this way, he would be able to speak or to listen in a better way. Comprehension actually comes from the Latin term comprehension, which means a seizing. It means you are at grasp with the language now. You can not only understand the sounds, but you can also understand the words. There are different theories for the words comprehension. These are reference theory, prototype theory, and decomposition theory. Reference theory means that the words are always acquired or the words are always learned by references. For example, when we say that this is a dog, it means it is an animal with at least four legs. If we say a table, it means it is a table that has 4 legs, or where the things are kept. So the words can also be learned by the way of reference. It is a fan. Fan means that gives air. Pedestal fan means that gives air, but while it is standing on the floor or on the earth. So reference theory is all about the references. Then there is prototype theory. And prototype theory says that the word can be learned by different features, by giving him different features. Then decomposition theory says that the words should be, or the utterance or the phrase should be divided into different words so that it would be easy for the speaker or the listener or the learner to understand its meaning. Then comes the sentence comprehension, sound comprehension, word comprehension, and then the greater level, sentence comprehension. Sentence, as you already know, is a group of words that makes a complete sense or that gives a complete meaning. And sentence is also made of words. As you already know, that sentence has 2 parts, subject and predicate. Then it can be subject, predicate, complement, and adjunct. If a person knows about grammar, he would be able to understand the things in a better way. Sentence comprehension is also very important, and it is not so easy, especially for the people who have been orally trained, because sentence structure can be easily understood while in the written form. In verbal or oral communication, it would be very difficult to understand the sentence, but it should be understood. It can be sometimes ambiguous, but with a little bit of effort and the learning of grammatical rules, it can be understood, not only understood, but also mastered. And then the last topic of our comprehension is, language comprehension, is text comprehension. You already know that the sentences make, words make the sentences and sentences make the text. So text comprehension is basically the largest unit of comprehension. Understanding the texts means a lot of knowledge. It means you are at the same time understanding the structure, the ideas, the thoughts, the semantics, the pragmatics, literal meaning, figurative meaning, contextual meaning. In this way, background knowledge is also required, and the people who have past experience or who have the prior knowledge can understand the language in a better way according to the psycholinguistics. This was our lecture of introduction to psycholinguistics. I hope you people would have understood it in a better way. If there is any problem, you can text me or you can follow my YouTube channel and message there also. Thank you.